Thank you very much.
Kabale district is grappling with mounting disasters ranging from landslides, floods, prolonged drought to the destruction of crops around water bodies such as Lake Bunyonyi, where residents recently observed unusual changes in water levels. The worsening situation, compounded by deforestation, poor land use practices and poverty, has sparked urgent calls for coordinated response. The worsening situation, compounded by deforestation, poor land use practices and poverty, has sparked urgent calls for coordinated response. In a dialogue convened on Thursday at Chirijime Guest House in Kabale Municipality, the local Sustainable Communities Organization LOSCO spearheaded discussions on developing a comprehensive disaster response plan to address these hazards. Albert Talemwa, the executive director of LOSCO, underscored the need for a structured framework to avert further damage. He noted that although a district disaster response committee exists, it has been largely non-functional and requires a reinvigoration.
In partnership with the World Voices Uganda and Oxfam, we are here to work on something to do with the district disaster response plan. We understand that Kabale district as a district did not have this plan, and so we had different stakeholder engagements and consultation meetings to look into how we can best support and also come up with this district disaster response plan. And so through our consultants, we developed a draft.
The proposed plan will integrate environmental protection, poverty elevation, gender inclusion, and human rights.
We look into how we can avert or mitigate the hazards and the risks that we profiled in Kabale. We profiled landslides and mudslides, especially in the sub-counties of Rubaya, Kamugambuzi, Maziba, and Chanamira, where deforestation and poor land use practices have been destabilized. We profiled floods that cause displacement of households and destruction of crops in low-lying swamp-free areas, especially along River Churuma, Lake Bunyonyi shoreline, and the trading centers with poor drainage systems, e.g. the Kabale municipality outskirts. We also provide droughts where we see reduced crop yields, food insecurity, water shortages for humans and livestock, and this we identified in the semi-arid pockets of the dry belts in the sub-counties of Buhala, and also the Kigezi sub-county, which is in Ruchiga.
Kabale District Natural Resources Officer Henry Tumwesije stressed that community involvement and official endorsement are key, adding that quicker responses could be achieved through the use of incident forms for disaster reporting.
Other interventions we need to do, when you talk of hazards, it means that there must be a risk and also a vulnerability. When the risk is high and the vulnerability is high, that's when also the hazard is too strong to cause a disaster. So the activities that we should do as a district towards reducing the risk and reducing the vulnerability. We know we are staying in hill areas. We need to look at sustainable land management practices. We need to look at enforcing the Physical Planning Act of 2010. We need to look at the National Environment Laws as revised 2019, and also there are other acts, the Building Control Act. We need to look at all of this. You are increasing the risk and increasing the vulnerability, which means the hazard. When the flood comes, the disaster automatically will happen. So we need other interventions apart from having these meetings, practical ones, stabilizing the riverbanks, stabilizing the lake shores, enforcement of the relevant laws aiming at reducing the risk and the vulnerability so that we get away with the hazards which eventually cause us or bring us disasters.
Deputy RDC Michael Munamina Chakashari, representing the central government, welcomed the initiative but warned against worsening urban waste management practices.
I have also seen people throwing these small, waterways that are in town. You find them blocked. You find them blocked with polystyrene had road, they've had many. You know, people have found where to throw their garbage. And the town council, that means the municipality, is finding it hard to clear those, channels. Now, when it rains, you automatically expect floods. And the floods will be now getting into people's homes. Now, but if it rains, it has flooded, there are small children in the home who cannot run away from that water. Isn't that going to be a disaster? And so there must be a plan. Because now, I think the municipality has places where they dump the garbage. But people are too lazy to the extent that if she's living near or is living near a channel, they'll find it within their wisdom to go and dump in the running water, and before we know it, it is blocked. So we need both sensitization and also a plan in case of those that can be controlled.
The disaster response plan now awaits approval by the Kabale District Council. Once adopted, it is expected to serve as the blueprint for disaster risk reduction and management aimed at protecting lives, livelihoods, and the environment. Once adopted, it is expected to serve as the blueprint for disaster risk reduction and management aimed at protecting lives, livelihoods, and the environment. Story by Mara Mishimwe and Jane Elizabeth Umtangana for Kigezi Television.